Today, let's make room for a softer truth. You don't have to wrestle life into shape to be okay. You can be a little uncertain and still be steady. You can be tender and still be strong. And even if your mind has been sprinting ahead, you can return to this moment without scolding yourself for leaving. Right now, just let your attention land somewhere simple. The feel of your hands, the way your shoulders are holding the day, the quiet weight of your body where it meets the chair or the bed. Nothing to perfect, nothing to prove, just a gentle return. If you've been gripping tightly, it makes sense. Many of us learned early on that vigilance was the price of safety. We learn to anticipate, to overthink, to rehearse every possible outcome as if preparation could prevent pain. So if your thoughts have been looping, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means some part of you has been trying to protect you the only way it knows how. And today, we're offering that part of you a different job. Not to disappear, not to be shamed, just to soften. Here is the first truth line to hold close. Trust is not denial. Trust does not mean pretending everything is fine. Trust does not mean smiling while your heart is heavy. Trust is simply the willingness to stop arguing with reality long enough to breathe again, to say, "This is where I am," without adding, "and that means I'm failing." You can face what's true without abandoning yourself. So if life feels messy right now, you can name it with compassion, uncertain, unfinished, tender, and you can still be kind to yourself inside it. Let this land gently. I am willing to be with life as it is and still be kind to myself. There's a difference between accepting and approving. Accepting says, "This is here." Approving says, "This is good." You are not required to approve of everything that happens. But acceptance gives you your power back because it stops the exhausting battle with what already exists. And when you stop fighting reality, you gain energy for the next loving step. That brings us to another important distinction. Highest good does not have to sound like a guarantee. It can be a direction, a compass, a way of orienting your heart, especially when the map is unclear. Sometimes people hear everything is unfolding for your highest good, and they think it means nothing painful will happen or that every loss will immediately make sense. That's not the kind of trust we're practicing here. We're practicing a grounded trust that says, not everything feels good, but something good can still grow here. This is not a promise that every outcome will match your preferences. It's an invitation to meet your life with a gentler inner posture, a posture that asks, what is the next right choice I can make with love? Not the next perfect choice, not the forever choice, the next right one. If you've been stuck in outcome obsession, breathe with this thought swap. I release the demand to know everything, and I choose the next loving step. And a small affirmation, like a pebble you can keep in your pocket. I trust my ability to respond with love, one step at a time. Now let's speak honestly about a common anxiety bargain. Worry often whispers, if I stay tense, I'll be prepared. As if tightness could prevent surprise, as if fear could purchase certainty. But tension is not the same as readiness. Here's your truth line. Preparation can be gentle. Panic is not a plan. You can be responsible without being ruthless to yourself. You can make thoughtful choices without running your nervous mind like a night shift that never ends. So when you notice the loop, name it softly. This is my mind trying to keep me safe. Then choose a smaller thought you can actually live inside today. Not, everything will be fine forever. That's too big, too brittle. Try something truer like, I can handle the next 10 minutes. I can take one step. I can ask for help. I can rest before I decide. If you'd like a simple 2-line anchor, let it move through you now like warm water. I am here and I am safe enough for this minute. Life can move and I can breathe. Notice what happens when you don't demand instant certainty and you don't punish yourself for being human. Something loosens, something returns. And when something loosens, you can hear yourself again. One of the most loving things you can do in uncertain seasons is to build a shelter inside your own voice, because when the outside feels unpredictable, your inner tone matters even more. So here is the next chapter, self-approval as a daily shelter. The way you speak to yourself matters more than the speed of your progress. If you've been criticizing yourself for not being over-I, or for needing reassurance, or for feeling tired, let's try something else. Let's practice one honest sentence of approval you can believe. Not flattery, not denial, approval. Maybe it sounds like, I'm doing my best with what I know, or I've carried a lot and I'm still here, or it makes sense that I feel this way, or simply, I'm learning. Choose one and let it be true. I choose to be on my own side today. Sometimes trust begins there, not in the universe, not in the future, but in you, in your capacity to meet life with kindness, in your willingness to stay connected to yourself even when you're disappointed. And here's a metaphor to hold without forcing it. Trust is like a garden gate. When you're afraid, you don't just close the gate, you barricade it. You stack old stories in front of it. It never works out. I always mess it up. I can't relax. I'm behind. You lock it with blame and worry and over-control. But today, you don't have to sprint through that gate. You only have to stop barricading it. You can open it 1 inch at a time. Now let's speak about release, because trusting life fully today often requires letting go of what you've been gripping, especially what belongs to yesterday. This is where forgiveness enters, not as a demand, but as an unclenching. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is not excusing harm. It is not telling yourself something didn't matter. Forgiveness, in the gentlest sense, is releasing the tight knot that keeps you tied to the past. You are allowed to stop carrying what you've already learned from. Some things taught you boundaries. Some things taught you discernment. Some things taught you what you value. You don't need to keep reliving them to keep the lesson. Offer the past a respectful bow, then bring your energy back to the present, where your life is actually happening. A small affirmation to ease the grip. I let go gently, and I keep my heart. If you feel resistance here, that's okay. Resistance is often a sign that something was real, so we move slowly, we keep our dignity. We don't rush healing as if it's another task to complete. Here's a short vow you can make to yourself. I will not rush my life to earn peace. Peace is not a prize for perfect people. It's a practice, a posture, a small decision repeated. Now let me share a simple story, the kind that happens in ordinary lives, not movie lives. There was a woman named Mina. She was smart, devoted, and exhausted in a quiet way she didn't know how to name. For months she was waiting for one answer, a message, a decision, a yes or no that would determine what she should do next. Every day, her mind replayed the same scenes, what she said, what she should have said, what it meant that the response hadn't come. She checked her phone too often. She reread old conversations. She tried to predict the future by analyzing the past. And one day, after another long afternoon of waiting, she realized something that surprised her. The question she kept asking was, when will I get the answer? But the braver question was, what if I am allowed to live before the answer arrives? That question didn't erase her longing. It didn't make her suddenly fearless, but it gave her back her day. She cooked something simple. She took a walk without trying to solve anything. She told a friend the truth. I'm tired of waiting. She rested. And in that small act of living, Mina found a new kind of trust. Not trust that the outcome would be perfect, but trust that she could keep loving her life even while it was unfinished. That's what I want for you. Because trusting life fully today does not mean you never feel uncertainty. It means you refuse to postpone your tenderness until everything is resolved. Here's another truth line. You can be unsure and still be supported. Supported by your breath, supported by your ability to choose one helpful thought, supported by the people who care, supported by the part of you that keeps trying even when it's hard. Today, trust can be practical. It can look like open hands. Open hands does not mean you stop taking action. It means you stop strangling the outcome. It means you choose what you can influence and release what you cannot. So what can you influence today? Only a few things, and that's a relief. You can influence your next choice, your next word, your next boundary, your next moment of rest. You can influence how you speak to yourself. You can influence whether you meet yourself with shame or with compassion. And what can you release? The need to control other people's feelings, the need to know every outcome, the need to be perfect before you're worthy of peace, the belief that your life is late. Let's bring it into a gentle micro recap so your attention can settle. You chose truth without panic. You chose direction without guarantees. You chose self-love as steady ground. And from here, we return to the title's promise in a way that feels true. Everything is unfolding for your highest good can mean life is still moving, even when you can't see the full picture, and you can meet it with grace. Grace does not mean passivity. It means you stop punishing yourself for being in process. So if your mind says, I should be further along, answer with kindness. I am here. and this is a real place to be. If your mind says, I can't trust anything, answer with a smaller truth, I can trust this breath. If your mind says, what if it all falls apart? Answer with steadiness, if something changes, I will meet it one step at a time. You don't need a perfect mood to practice trust. You need willingness. Here are a few affirmations to weave into your day like soft thread. I am safe enough to soften. I release what I cannot control. I allow life to surprise me in gentle ways. I choose thoughts that support me. I am learning to trust myself. I am open to good unfolding, even if I can't see it yet. Let those be options, not demands. If one doesn't fit, let it pass. Choose the one that feels like it has room to breathe. And remember, trust is not a single leap. It's a series of small permissions. Permission to rest, permission to ask, permission to not know, permission to be human. There may still be moments today when you feel the old urge to grip. That's okay. When it happens, notice it without drama. Your body is trying to help. Your mind is trying to protect. You can thank it, and you can choose again. You can place one hand over your heart for a moment, or simply soften your jaw, or let your shoulders drop a fraction. Small signals tell your inner world, we are not in an emergency right now. And if today is truly hard, if you're facing a choice or a loss or a season of uncertainty, you're not required to be radiant. You're allowed to be real. Trust can coexist with tears. Trust can coexist with fatigue. Trust says, even here, I will be with myself. Let's make room for the skeptical voice too, because it deserves respect. The skeptical voice says, trust sounds nice, but I've been disappointed. Or, if I let go, I'll lose everything. Or, people have told me to trust when what they meant was be quiet and tolerate what hurts. So let's be clear. Trusting life is not the same as tolerating what harms you. Trust does not ask you to stay in a place that diminishes you. Trust does not ask you to ignore your needs. Trust does not ask you to silence your intuition. Trust, the way we're using it today, is more like a steady inner stance while you do what you need to do. It's the difference between moving forward with clenched fists and moving forward with a steady heart. Here's another truth line. Surrender is not resignation. Resignation says, nothing matters, so why try? Surrender says, I will stop fighting what is already true, and I will put my energy into what I can change. Surrender is an exhale. Resignation is a collapse. If you've been afraid that trust will make you passive, let this reassure you. You can trust and still take action. You can trust and still set boundaries. You can trust and still make a plan. The difference is the emotional tone you bring with you. Action from fear is frantic. Action from trust is clear. So the next time you're doing something important, sending the message, having the conversation, filling out the form, showing up to the meeting, see if you can do it with one soft inner sentence. Try, I can do this without abandoning myself, or I can be brave and gentle at the same time. Or I don't need to punish myself to be effective. And if your mind argues, that's okay. You're not trying to win a debate inside your head. You're choosing a new direction for your attention. Sometimes the most powerful shift is not a dramatic epiphany, but a tiny reorientation, like turning your face toward a window and remembering there is light outside the room. Another gentle question for you. What would it feel like to stop auditioning for worthiness? So many people carry a hidden belief that peace has to be earned by productivity, earned by being good, earned by making fewer mistakes, earned by never needing help. But you were not born to audition for your own life. You were born to live it. And living includes seasons of not knowing. Let's talk about timing, because everything is unfolding often brings up the ache of waiting. Waiting can feel like being suspended, like your life is on hold, like you're trapped in the hallway between doors. If you're in a hallway season, I want you to know hallways are real places. They are not wasted time. They are places where you gather yourself, where you learn what you actually want, where you notice what you're no longer willing to accept. Sometimes the door you want doesn't open because it isn't your door. Sometimes it doesn't open because you're still becoming the version of you who can walk through it without shrinking. That's not punishment. That's preparation with dignity. And still, you don't have to force meaning. You don't have to tell yourself a story that everything is for a reason in order to trust your life. You can simply say, I am in a season I didn't choose, and I am choosing to be kind to myself inside it. A small affirmation that can hold waiting without sugarcoating it. I honor the pace of my life, and I honor my heart. Now let's bring trust down into something you can touch, a tiny ritual you can return to whenever your mind starts sprinting. This is not a performance, not a complex routine, just 3 small movements of attention, like placing stones in a river so you can cross. First, notice one physical sensation, the warmth of your hands, the coolness of air in your nose, the contact of your feet with the floor. Second, name one true sentence. I'm feeling pressured. I'm uncertain. I'm sad. I'm tired. I'm hopeful and scared at the same time. No fixing, just naming. Third, offer one kind response. Of course I feel this way. I can go slowly. I can ask for support. I don't have to solve everything right now. That's it. Sensation, truth, kindness. Many people find that simple attention shifts like this help them feel more grounded in the moment, even when life is still unresolved. It's not magic. It's human. And because we're keeping this gentle and honest, I'll say it clearly. You may still have hard days. You may still feel waves. Trust doesn't erase waves. Trust helps you stop drowning in them. Here's a metaphor that's different from the garden gate. Think of a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't calm the sea. It doesn't see peace. control the weather, it simply stays lit. It helps you orient when things are rough. Your inner voice can be that lighthouse. Your breath can be that lighthouse. Your willingness to return can be that lighthouse. So when you feel tossed around, you don't have to command the ocean. You can turn toward the light you're keeping alive. Another two-line anchor, soft and steady. I release the need to know everything today. I choose what supports me in this moment. If you'd like to deepen trust without forcing it, here are a few gentle permissions you can practice, not as a checklist, but as doors you can open when you're ready. You are allowed to rest before you earn it. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to want what you want. You are allowed to need reassurance sometimes. You are allowed to be proud of small progress. You are allowed to begin again. When you give yourself permission, you stop treating your life like a courtroom. You stop cross-examining your feelings. You stop acting like you must present a flawless case for why you deserve peace. Sweet one, you don't have to defend your humanity. Now let's return to the phrase, trust life fully today, because it can sound big. Fully can sound like you're supposed to be fearless, enlightened, unshakable. But fully doesn't mean perfectly. Fully can simply mean you show up honestly. You stop splitting yourself into acceptable and unacceptable parts. You let your fear exist without letting it drive the car. You let your hope exist without making it carry the whole world. You become whole in the moment you're in. Here's another truth line. Wholeness does not require certainty. Wholeness requires presence. So if part of you is afraid, you can say, "Come with me." If part of you is angry, you can say, "I hear you." If part of you is tired, you can say, "I will not abandon you." This is self-trust in action. And self-trust is often the doorway to trusting life. If you want a simple way to practice self-trust today, keep one promise to yourself that is kind and realistic, not a grand vow that sets you up to fail, but a gentle promise. Maybe, I will drink water when I notice I'm tense. Maybe, I will step outside for 2 minutes. Maybe, I will speak to myself with respect. Maybe, I will stop scrolling when my chest tightens. Maybe, I will ask one person for support. When you keep small promises, your nervous system learns, I am cared for. Your mind learns, I can rely on myself, and trust grows quietly, like roots. Now, because you may be listening in the morning, or at night, or in the middle of an anxious spike, I want to offer you a few phrases you can use in those specific moments. In the morning, when your mind tries to list everything that could go wrong, try, "Today, I will meet my life with gentleness." At night, when your mind replays the day, try, "I did enough for today, and I can rest." In the middle of a spike, when everything feels urgent, try, "This feeling is loud, but it is not the whole truth." And when you're waiting for a reply, a result, a sign, a turning point, try, "I am allowed to live while I wait." Let's weave in a few more affirmations, spaced like little lanterns. I choose peace in the way I speak to myself. I am open to solutions I cannot yet see. I honor my needs without guilt. I give myself permission to go slowly. I am learning to trust life without forcing it. And because repetition can be soothing when it's intentional, let's return to a chorus you can hold. Everything is unfolding. I can meet it with grace. Everything is unfolding. I can take the next loving step. Everything is unfolding. I can keep my heart open, even a little. Notice how those lines don't demand a specific outcome. They don't promise you a perfect life. They simply offer you a posture that reduces inner war. Now let's revisit Mina for a moment, not to stretch the story, but to pull out the moral thread. Mina didn't suddenly receive certainty. She didn't suddenly stop caring. What changed was her relationship with time. She stopped treating waiting like punishment. She started treating it like a season that required care. You can do that too. If you're in a season of uncertainty, you can ask, what kind of care does this season require? Maybe it requires simplicity, fewer commitments, more honest conversations, more sleep, more saying no, more gentle movement, more quiet, more boundaries with your phone, more time with people who feel safe. Not as a rigid list, just possibilities. And if you're not sure, that's okay. You can experiment with kindness. One more gentle question. What would you do today if you trusted that you don't have to carry everything alone? Maybe you would delegate one task. Maybe you would tell the truth instead of performing. Maybe you would let yourself be seen. Maybe you would accept help without apology. Trust often grows in community, not in isolation. Even one supportive connection can remind you that life is not only pressure, life is also care. And if you don't have that support right now, I want you to know you're still allowed to practice tenderness. You can be the safe place you needed. You can offer yourself the warmth you've been waiting to receive. Now there's one more subtle trap we should name. The idea that you have to think positive to be spiritually correct. That trap can become another form of self-criticism, another way to say, my feelings are wrong. But your feelings are information, not evidence of failure. If sadness is here, you can hold it. If fear is here, you can soothe it. If anger is here, you can listen to what it protects. None of this disqualifies you from trust. Trust simply says, I will not turn against myself. So if you take nothing else from this, take that. I will not turn against myself. That is the heart of a Louise Hay, inspired path, without copying any words. Self-love as the ground you stand on while your life unfolds. And now, as we gently come toward the close, let's gather everything again softly, without rushing. You practiced acceptance without approving of everything. You chose a compass instead of a guarantee. You released the anxiety bargain. You built a shelter with self-approval. You touched forgiveness as unclenching. You practiced open hands, not open wounds. You remembered surrender is an exhale, not a collapse. And you did it in a human way. So take a moment and notice what feels even 1% softer. Maybe it's your forehead, maybe it's your breath, maybe it's the pressure in your chest easing just a little. Maybe it's the way your thoughts have slowed down from a sprint to a walk. Even 1% matters. Because 1% is how trust is built. Before you go, let gratitude be simple, not forced. One thing you can appreciate right now, even if it's small, the warmth of a drink, a quiet corner, a steady breath, the fact that you showed up. Gratitude isn't a denial of pain. It's a light you choose to notice for just this moment. If you're carrying more than you can hold today, let that be information, not a verdict. Sometimes, trust looks like reaching out, texting a friend, sitting with someone safe, or talking with a qualified counselor or support professional. You don't have to be in crisis to deserve support. Let help be one of the ways life unfolds for you. Even the strongest hearts need somewhere to set the weight down for a while. You are allowed to receive, not only to give today. So as we close, let's gather the essence of what you've practiced here. You don't have to force life to be safe. You can meet this moment with steadiness. You can choose the next loving step. You can build a shelter with your own voice. You can release what you've already learned from. You can hold your life with open hands. And if you want one final affirmation to carry with you, let it be this: everything is unfolding, and I can meet it with grace. Not because you have a guarantee, not because you have every answer, but because you have yourself, because you can return to your breath, because you can choose kindness over panic again and again. May you feel supported in quiet ways today. May you notice one small sign of ease, a softer thought, a calmer breath, a kinder moment with yourself. May you trust that you don't have to rush. What is meant for your growth can meet you in steadier time. And for now, just be here. Just be gentle. Just let today be today.